This conference will now be recorded.
We completed the files concepts, right? Yes. Okay. Okay, now let's go for understanding the new concept, which is the exception handling. It is very simple topic. I can finish it in a 15 to 20 minutes only. Okay, that's a very simple topic, and you can easily understood. That's not a big deal. Okay. Just open Anaconda Navigator. Okay, so let's go to your specific folder. Now let's create the new Jupyter file. And the topic name is exception handlings. Okay, so before we understood the concept of the exception handling, we need to understood the error. So you know, right, when you're writing when you're writing the program in some situations, you might be get the some kind of errors, right? Okay, so which means you did some kind of mistakes in a program, then it was giving some kind of errors. There are two types of errors are there. The first one is the syntax error, and the second one is the runtime error. Okay, so when we have a syntax error, so you won't even execute the single statement. So which is the error we are getting because of the structural issue. So you're not following the proper syntax. Okay, if you're not following the proper syntax by the time of writing the program, then you will get this kind of errors. That's we are calling it say syntax errors. Okay, so the syntax errors, if you don't want to get it, let's make sure that we need to have the good knowledge on the coding. Otherwise, I mean, the programming language syntax, we should know it for each and everything. Then only we want to get this kind of errors. Okay, so when we have some kind of syntax error, the program is never executed. Let's see some examples for the syntax error. I just want to be print hello. I want to print hello. Yes, you can do it actually. I want to print the hi. Okay, yes, you will do it. So what happens here, one is started with a single quote, one is end with a double quote. Okay, this time I did some mistake. The mistake is it's a syntax mistakes, it's a syntax error. Okay, the reason is that that if you started with a single one, then you should end with also single one only, single quote only. If you started with the double quote, then we have to end with double quote only, right? So this is purely done by the programmer who is writing the program. That guy, he did some syntax issues, so because of that one, the program is unable to execute it. Okay, so the programmer only need to be modified without any getting of syntax. Okay, so I can modify this one. So if I execute this one, I got the output or not. I don't have any kind of syntactical errors, so that the program is being executing. Okay, make sure that as a programmer we need to always work with syntax. That's fine. We are not talking about syntax errors now. The reason is that we are talking about exceptions. Exception means because of the runtime error. So runtime errors in the sense, while execution time while execution time will get some errors. The errors can be getting because of the memory issues. Maybe you don't have enough space, and maybe you did some logical issue. Okay, maybe the names is not available, names issue. Okay, so there is a lot of issues you might be getting by the time of execution. So by the time of execution, if you're getting any kind of error, those errors we are calling it say runtime errors actually. Let's show you some examples of the runtime errors. I want to open the file. I want to be open the file. The file is not existed. The file is not existed, but I want to opening in R mode. So we are getting the file not found error, right? This is the runtime error. This is the one of the runtime error. So file not found error is the runtime error. By the time of execution, how can you say that it's executing? Because of the first statement got executed, I got an output. But when it comes to the second one, I got in some kind of issue. So the file is not found, so that I got the file not found error. This is runtime error. Okay. So meanwhile, we can try to print the some name. You try to print the some name, so the name is not available, so that we are calling it's a name error. So where is not defined, so I got the name error. Okay, so where is not at all defined, but you're trying to using it, that could be error, right? That is not done by you. Maybe the programmer, the maybe um this is totally it's a name error, so the name is not available even though you're trying to using it. That's a name error. So the name error is the type of one type of the runtime error. Okay, so for example, I just want to go with some other examples. I want to be division with zero. Is it possible division with zero? So this is zero division error. Okay, this is also runtime error. So this whatever the errors you can see on my screen as of now, this all are the it's a runtime errors only. So when we are getting the runtime errors, the program can be stopped in the middle of it. It's never go for the next third statement. If you're getting the runtime error in the second one, even the third statement is good, but it won't be executes. It won't go for the third one. It is stops in the middle of the program only. The execution of the program can be stopped in the middle when you are getting the runtime error. That we are calling it the exception. What is the exception? Exception means the program can be stopped abnormally by the time of execution because of the runtime errors. That we are calling it say exceptions. Is it clear?
Yes.
So can you note this examples?
Can you scroll down a little bit? Yes. Okay, done.
Okay. Now, how as a programmer you need to handle that one. For handling the exception, we have the two keywords are there. One is the try block. The try block which is having the logic of the program. So the logic we need to right inside of the try, and when we are getting the runtime error, to handle that specific error, then we can use the except block. Okay, so we need to write the logic of the program or logic of the task. Okay, when you're getting the runtime error in the try block, then except block can be executes. This is the syntax. Okay, this is the syntax. So we'll go with try block with, I just want to be print the hello, and I want to be print the by, but in between these two statements, I want to be print the division with 0. Okay, so 50 by 0, it's an error. So even though we can try for the, so by the, if you're getting the error in the second line, the program can be stopped in the second the program can be stopped in that particular error, and it will cursor moves to the except block. I am handling the exception. When we are getting the exception, to handle that particular exception, we can write the logic inside of the except block. That's it. Okay, so see, I'm not getting any kind of error, so the program is not at all stopping in the middle of it. The first statement got executed, I got runtime error. So when you are getting the runtime error, it is moving to the except block. The except block, what we defining, that it can be executed. Okay, simply we can handle the exceptions with help of the except block and try blocks. See, you're getting the zero division error, same block is executing. For example, I want to be print the var. The var is not defined, but even though you're trying to be using it, say by the time of name error also, we are executing the same exception. So I just want to be handle the specific error. For example, if you are getting the zero division error, so you need to go for handle the some specific task. If you're getting the name error, I need to go for some other specific task actually, or you need to handle that kind of specific errors only or exceptions only, that we can do with help of the extension of the try and except block. Before that one, we can try to execute these two statements.
Noted.
Done.
Yes.
Okay, so nothing new actually. So in between the try and except, we can defining the multiple exceptional blocks. There is no limit at all. So you just need to mention the error name. Okay, so when you're getting the name error, then name error exception block can execute it. I am handling only name error exceptions, name error related exceptions. Okay, so meanwhile, if you are getting the value error, then value error, to handling the value error exceptions, then we can go with the value error. So value error exception related. Okay, for example, if you are getting the exception because of the file handling, file not found error. So when you are getting the file not found, then that particular situation, I need to go for handle that particular exceptions. So this is the way you can able to write the file related errors. Okay, so see, here we are getting the name error, right? So that because of you got the name error issue, so that it is going for executing directly name error related exception. So for example, you are trying to division with 0. So the division with zero division error you're not mentioning, then default exception can execute. For example, if you're not specifying the some specific exception name, then default exception can execute. That it could be last one. Okay, can you note this example?
Mm-hmm.
Ninth and 10th can execute.
Okay, noted.
Some situations we are not getting exceptions. That time I want to be do some specific task actually. So I'm not getting any kind of exceptions. If you're not getting any kind of exception, then that I want to be do this particular task. Okay, that it could be right inside of the else block. So when I don't have an exception, when you don't have an exception, then I can handle, then I can perform, I can perform the task. So here I got an exception in the third line, so that else is not at all executing. Okay, now I can able to write something. Now instead of division is 0, if I go with 2, the try block is executed successfully. When the try block executed successfully, except is not executing, any exception block is not at all executed, only else block can executes. Okay,
Okay.
note these two examples.
Yes, noted.
Now some situations, even got an exception, even you're not getting any kind of exception, I want to be performing one mandatory task that you can able to write inside of the finally block. Okay, so when I can when finally block will execute, finally block can execute in any kind of situation, in any situation, even you're getting an exception. Okay, even you're not getting an exception, at any time, at any situation, I can perform the task. So some situations, if you're getting exception, then I can perform some other specific task, right? If you're not getting an exception, else is executing, right? But even you're getting exception, even you're not getting an exception, the finally can be executed. See, finally is the statement, it was executing without exception and with exception also.
Mm-hmm.
See, any situation I can perform the task here. Here also any situation I can perform the task here, but here I don't have any exception, but here I got an exception. Noted this finally block also.
Okay, noted.
Some situations I want to raise the exception in your own way with your special thing. Okay, with the help of the raise keyword, we can raise the exception even you're not having any kind of runtime error. Got it?
Yes.
So the try block, it doesn't have any kind of runtime error. Intentionally, we are raising the exception with the help of the raise keyword. So with the help of this particular keywords in real time, we can handle the any kind of exception if you know the exception name or error name.
Okay.
Yeah, this is for today's class, Rupali.
Mm-hmm.
And We'll continue on the Monday. Tomorrow I'm traveling.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, bye. Take care.
Thank you.